Okay, let's begin then. Let us all take a moment to bring our palms in veneration of the Supremely Enlightened One, the Perfect One, the Magnificent One, He who is the fount of wisdom and the source of inspiration for all of us to attain the supreme bliss of Nibbāna. He is our teacher, He is our master, and He is our guide. For it is He who sacrificed Himself over many countless lifetimes in samsara to save not only Himself but all sentient beings. And today, we are all ever so grateful for that sacrifice that He made on behalf of all of us. But the greatest gift that we can return to Him is to seek refuge in the Noble Triple Gem, and not just doing it by word but also by spirit, by understanding what it means. So this is us renewing our pledge of allegiance to the Noble Triple Gem, and to make a firm resolve that may the Triple Gem forever be my guide and my refuge from now till the end of samsara, so that I may walk the path to liberation and free myself from suffering once and for all. So with that in mind, let us take a moment to chant the Namaskara, seek refuge in the Noble Triple Gem, observe the precepts, and make a start with today's proceedings. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Okay, we have a question today. In fact, it's more a reminder than a question. I tend to have this habit of making promises and not keeping to them. So, as a reminder to fulfill on one of my promises. A gentle reminder, Swamin Wahansa, regarding contemplation of emotions such as anger, anxiety, worry, sadness, etc., from the Dharmishta Rajagiriyans. See, when you put it like that, who can ignore, right? How do you achieve peace, serenity, tranquility in the face of these adversities? When anger strikes, how do you contemplate? When you have anxiety and worry and stress, jealousy, these are some of the more ugly ones, aren't they? Jealousy. It's one of those things that, when people are angry, they tend to relieve themselves by showing it. And sometimes people are okay with that. People say, my dad, when he gets angry, like we all know, and so does the dog. But emotions like jealousy, I think we all know that these are really, it's just, we don't like to feel jealous. We don't like to feel jealous, but when it strikes, it strikes. When you grow green with envy, it just does. And sometimes you don't like to feel, I don't think anyone likes to feel jealous, but it just happens. Also, when you're feeling maybe even egotistical, sometimes if you're feeling that you're less than others or better than others, these are emotions that really feel like a curse sometimes. And how do you deal with these emotions when they strike? This is kind of like the human condition, isn't it? It's all part and parcel of being human. Some say you just have to manage yourselves. So these emotions you just can't get rid of. It's just going to be there now, and it's always going to be there. It's all part of being human. You just got to learn how to manage those feelings and manage those emotions so that it just doesn't get the better of you. But you're just going to have to be okay with that. So that's one school of thought. But I think that's because people don't understand these emotions. It's like a fire. If you don't understand a fire, then you just have to learn to live with it. So if your house is on fire and you don't understand what a fire is, what are your options? Run. Any other options? That's all. If you don't understand a fire, what is it to understand a fire? To understand the origins of a fire. What are the causes that give rise to a fire? What does it mean to be on fire? When you look at a fire, if you don't understand what its causes are, then you don't understand a fire. So then if your house is on fire, there's only one thing you can do. Run as fast as your legs will carry you. What else can you do? And this is the same problem I think that people have with these emotions. They don't understand them. And because they don't understand them, people have a really tough time. See if you can agree with me on this matter. People have a really tough time accepting themselves. You know, we often talk about accepting others and being forgiving towards others. We always talk about forgive and forget, and be gentle to others, and be tolerant of their weaknesses and their shortcomings. But what about when you're the one who's the victim? What about when it's you who's going through all this? When you're the one who's going through all these emotions, and where do you run? If someone else is angry, say your better half is angry. He or she is always angry. Your spouse is always on fire. Right? It's like you wish you lived next to... No, I'm not going to say that. Some things I filter internally. So let's just say, keep it simple. Keep it simple, keep it clean, right? Let's just say your spouse is always angry, right? At some point, people do. So at some point you consider, you know what, do I want to keep living with this person like this any longer? This is not the person I agree to live my life with. They're always angry and they're always just annoyed and agitated, and I don't want to go on living like this. So you can actually, at some point, decide to step away from that relationship, can't you? If you wanted to, you could, and people do. Some people just bite the bullet and they just carry on. They try to be patient with all that, and they think that it's all part of a learning experience for them. But then there are others who think that they don't have to put up with it, and then they pull the plug, so to speak. But when it's you who's angry, and you just can't bear that, when it's you who's going through frustration, what if you have suicidal thoughts? Where do you run? Nowhere. What if you feel depressed? Someone told me the other day, feeling depressed and having depression are two things, so I now stand corrected. So let's say you're actually going through depression. Where do you run? If the fire is outside, you can run, you can hide. But when the fire is inside, now what do you do? Who do you call? Where do you run and hide? So then the only refuge is the Buddha, Dhamma and the Sangha. So this is why we have to equip ourselves with these tools before anger strikes. Because when it does, you don't know how fierce it's going to be. And then it might just bring you down on your knees. Before anxiety strikes, I want all of you to prepare yourselves. Because if you are well prepared, then anxiety will not strike. Depression will not come to you if you have understood the Dhamma. That is a cast iron guarantee. I can give you that. I can sign any dotted line. I can sign my house because I don't have one. I can make any promise that if you have understood the Dhamma, you will not be depressed. Fear, worry, anxiety, depression, these are things that you can forget forever. They will never strike you. You will never have suicidal thoughts. Never. There will be people in your life who will behave in ways that you don't expect them to, but it won't bother you. You will try and help them where you can, but they won't be able to steal your cool. That I can guarantee. So what do you need to understand so that in these situations you can contemplate and try and come out of them? There's a better way to approach this. I don't know if you recall, I've said this in the past, that the Sásana is not really a repair shop. Not so much a repair shop as it is one where you can fortify your mind so that you don't fall victim to these emotions in the first place. That's what the Sásana is. So you see, right now, you're all reasonably happy, aren't you? I mean, you're happy enough to come here and sit down and listen to me speak for 2 hours. You're reasonably happy. You're so happy that you can leave home, right? Things are okay at home, things are okay at the workplace, because otherwise you'd be home, you wouldn't be here. Right? You're reasonably happy to be here and to spare a Sunday morning, with your noble friends and just come and listen to the Dhamma. So right now, you have a reasonably good state of mind. Means, I'm not going to say that you'll be jumping up and down in happiness, but, at least you are reasonably happy. You're okay. Okay. This is the perfect time to understand the Dhamma. What tends to happen is people, when they fall into these pits, when they come across adversity, when there's a death in the family, or when there's an imminent death in the family, when they are depressed, when they are worried, that's when they try and come into the Sásana. By coming to the Sásana, I mean that's when they walk into the temple and try and sit down with the Swamin Wahanse and try and get some treatment for that. I'm not saying that's bad, I'm not saying that's terrible, it's okay, but here's the thing. It's easier to understand the Dhamma when you can rejoice, meaning when you can be happy. It's far easier to understand the Dhamma when you have a state of mind that is peaceful. Now, there's never going to be an individual who has no problems at all, full stop, in which case that is an arahant. So then they don't need to further understand the Dhamma, they have fully comprehended the Dhamma. But what I mean is, despite all of the challenges and situations and issues that you might have going on in your lives, there will be times where, it's not completely throwing you out, right? So you're okay. Kind of like right now, you're okay. This is the perfect time to understand the Dhamma. So it's not like a hospital in that way. In that way, it's not like a hospital. Because you don't go to the hospital before, you go after for treatment. Unless, of course, you're going to get your inoculations, your vaccinations. Then you're going before the fact. That's the best time to come to the Sásana. That's the best time to go to a Swamin Wahanse, to sit down, listen to the Dhamma, before something happens. So I'm going to assume that now is that sort of situation with all of you. Nothing's happened yet, but things are bound to happen. So if you can prepare yourselves now, then when those problems come into your lives, you will not fall into these pits, such as anger, anxiety, worry, sadness, depression, and so on. So let's make a start. I want you to make a firm resolve that before you leave today, you will have understood the Dhamma. It is my resolve and my firm determination to help you understand the Dhamma, such that in situations in life where you are faced with challenges and obstacles and hurdles and unexpected situations, because oftentimes people think that in life you have accidents. You know, ladies and gentlemen, there are no such things called accidents, there are only incidents. You make an accident out of an incident. It's all a matter of perspective. There are no such things called accidents. In this universe, there are no accidents. In your world, there are. Accidents live in your mind. Incidents are out there. So then you'll ask me, what about Swaminathan? When I'm driving down the street and someone comes and bumps into me from behind, is that not an accident? No, that's an incident. Anything that is cause and effect driven is an incident. You just didn't expect it to happen. That is why you make that an accident. You consider that an accident. You didn't expect it to happen. You have something in your hand, let's say a glass, and you drop it on the floor. You do it deliberately. And what happens? It breaks, it shatters, right? You call that an accident? If you dropped it deliberately, intentionally, and it breaks, is that an accident? No. But you want to drink from this glass, and it slips, and then it falls. Now you'll call that an accident. So, where was the incident? Where was the accident? Is it in the glass? Was it on the floor? What determined your definition of that being either an accident or an incident? Where was it an incident? Where was it an accident? In this world, an incident happened. In your world, an accident happened. You see? So, you might wonder, what's the relevance to all this? In this question, you're asking me, how do you deal with accidents? I'm telling you, there are no such things called accidents. These emotions are your mental responses to incidents. Don't you agree? Anger. That's the first one on the list. Anger. What is that? Is that an accident? Or is that your response to an incident? That's your response to an incident. What makes you angry doesn't make everyone angry, does it? Does it? No. That's why they keep on doing it. Whoever it is you believe makes you angry, they just keep on doing it. And then you ask them, why do you do this? It makes me angry. Really? I never knew. Why did you tell me? Sometimes they ask you. So, was that an accident or was that an incident? It was just an incident. But in your world, your mental response, because you saw that as an accident, because you didn't expect it to happen, now your mental response is anger. See, so the first thing that we need to get our heads around here, ladies and gentlemen, is that all of these doings are our own. Anger is your response to an outside world incident, that's all. When you hear that, how does that make you feel? Weak or empowered? What do you think? I'll tell you how that makes me feel. It makes me feel really empowered. When I know that I'm in control. See, have you not lived your lives so far? I think many of you will have sort of gone past that point by this point, but on average, right, just in general, have we not lived our lives assuming that when we were angry, it was someone else who made us angry? Put your hand up if you don't agree with me. Right? So anytime and every time you've been angry in your life, at least at that moment, when you were in that situation and someone walked up to you and asked you, why are you angry? Right? What was your response? Because I'm stupid. Is that what you said? Someone asks you, why are you angry? Because I'm stupid, that's why. I'm just ignorant, that's why. Is that what you said? But was that not the truth? Well, we'll find out whether that is the truth in a moment. But you know where Swami Nwanza is heading right now, right? Yeah. So you know this is not going to be a good sermon. You're not going to enjoy this very much today. But what did it feel like in those moments? At those moments, in those situations? What did it feel like? Who was responsible for them? Someone else. Someone else was responsible. When you were younger, there would have been your adults. Maybe your parents were responsible for that. Your elder brother, your elder sister. Oh, weren't they annoying? Tell me about it. What about the younger one? Even more so. Your cousin? Oh, your nephews? Oh my God. Who put them on this planet? Right? Well, there you go. They make you angry, don't they? See, that's, people happy, people come into this world, they just want to make you angry, don't they? There are some people in this world, all they want to do is just make you angry, right? They just won't mind their own business. They just keep treading on your toes, agitating you, annoying you, irritating you, frustrating you. Yes? Yes? Why are you all so quiet? Are you beginning to understand something? If you are, then you can't just listen to this sermon and go home and go back to being your old selves. Because then it would make no difference at all in your lives. This is the university of life. If you don't mind me putting it that way. So at Gateway College, they teach young children to go on to become stars of the new world. But on Sunday morning, we make this a university of life. So you have come here to understand life. That's what we do. So you need to make a firm resolve, a determination that from here on, Swami Nwanza is making a great effort to try and help us understand this, and I'm going to make a firm resolve and try and use every ounce of energy within me to try and understand this. But at least from here on, when I'm angry, I will remind myself that it is merely my own mental response to an incident that is happening in the world out there. There is no one that's made me angry. So what about sadness then? What about sorrow? What about fear? Do people scare you? What about job interviews? Aren't they scary? Exams? Young people in the room, if you still got exams coming up, aren't they just scary? That when you're in the examination hall and you're sat down and you just, look at your palms at that time. That's the last thing you want at that time, right? That you have a paper in your hand, there's a pen or a pencil in your hand, and the last thing you want is slippery palms. Or when you have to give a talk to an audience, you come up on stage, and you were fine, while you were practicing you were fine, but then the moment has come, it's your time to walk on stage, they give you the mic, and you can't hold it straight. And what do your knees do? They keep telling you it's time to dance. You say, no, it's not time to dance, I've come here to give a speech, not to dance. But they won't listen. And then what does your heart feel like? It wants to pop out of your body, out of your chest, doesn't it? And then your stomach starts to roil. You start feeling butterflies. An accident has happened, or an incident has happened. An incident has happened, but what's going on? These are your mental responses. Fear. Fear has struck. And then your throat starts drying up. You just can't get the words out. And the worst thing is if there's a heckler in the audience. Or if you forget your words. Then it's going to be downhill from there. See, these are those situations in life where we fail. We fail because we have not understood these emotions. The beauty of the Buddha's teaching is there's actually not much to do besides understanding. That's why under the Bodhi tree, all he did was realize. I have realized the Dhamma, is what he uttered. To realize is to know. To know is to have understood. To understood is to have comprehended. To have comprehended is to have become. So if you have realized, you have become. If you have realized the Dhamma, you have become the Dhamma. So, this is all we have to do. What is all we have to do? This. I want you not to not be angry, because you can't do that. Because when anger comes, anger comes. You can't just shut the gates, push it out. You can't do that. All we have to do with anger is understand anger. That's all. You don't need to go to anger management class. People get angry because they don't understand anger. Don't you like the sound of that? Because what does that tell you? Does that, all of a sudden, don't you feel like, that's doable? Just remind yourself how old you are. Let's say you're 50. For the last 50 years, you've been getting angry and you didn't know what to do about it because even last night you got angry. Perhaps just last night you got angry. Your dad is however old and he still gets angry. Your mother is however old and she still gets angry. Then what hope do you have if you're the younger one at home and you're thinking, my God, my father's 55, he gets angry. My mother is 45, she still gets angry. Then what hope do I have? By the time I reach their age, I will still be the angry one at home. I'll be grumpy. And that's because for all the things that they have learned at school, at university, at the workplace, here's what they haven't learned, what anger is. And that's why they get angry. They haven't learned what grief is, therefore they grieve. They haven't learned what sorrow is, and therefore they experience sorrow. So all we have to do then is to understand these emotions. Once you've understood it, there's nothing more to do really. Is it so difficult to understand something if it's explained to you? You just have to listen, try and make sense of it, try and piece things together, and of course you have the lab of life into which you will take these principles and apply and see whether this makes sense to you, and that's it. One of these days you will stand up from your seat, and as we finish the sermon, you will realize that from there on you never got angry. That's it. One of these days it will happen to you. You will come in an angry man, you'll sit down, you'll listen to the sermon, you'll have understood what was said. You will stand up, and from there on, anger will be a thing of the past. That's it. I promise you that that can happen. For the simple reason that people get angry because they don't understand anger. That's why. Well, then tell me, what about feelings of sensual lust and desire. What about such feelings? These are some of the other demons that lay in the dark, deep corners of your minds. Any of these are manifestations of raga, desha and moha, right? Either desire or aversion or delusion. These are the three roots. And from these three roots stem every other negative mental state, negative emotion. All because people don't understand it. So here's what we're going to do now then. All we're trying to do is to understand these emotions. Am I going to ask you to not be angry from here on? What do you think? No. Am I going to ask you not to have sensual thoughts from here on? Don't you have sensual thoughts from here on? That makes no sense. Because it's not you who does it. It happens. How do you stop something that happens if it's not you who's doing it? Wouldn't you all like to not be angry ever again? Well then, okay, then don't be angry then. Okay? Don't you ever catch me. Don't you ever let me catch you being angry again. That makes no sense. Because angry is not something we voluntarily be. It just happens. It happens because there are causes that result in that. Once you understand the causes, you're free from it. Okay. Let's get into the meat of it then. So the first question I have for you, so I'll be asking you questions. I want you to think about them, okay? You don't necessarily have to shout out the answers, but think. Because I think if I can get you to think of these answers, then they will stick with you longer. Because it will be your own wisdom. I can give you knowledge, but if you can come up with your own answers, that'll relate to your own experiences. So it'll be more profound and more powerful. Okay, so here's the question. I'll write anger on the board. The thing is, we can just talk about one of these and it's the same for everything. All right, so let's take one. Anger. Some of these questions might seem silly, but I've deliberately worded them because I want you to think about why Swami Nivasananda is asking this question. And at least out of respect for me, do try and think that it's not a silly question. But it might sound a bit silly, okay? For instance, I'm going to ask you this question. When you're angry, who's angry? Huh? When you're angry, who's angry? Swami said, duh, when I'm angry, I'm angry. What a silly question that is. No. Think, pause and think. Now this is the moment where you're going to have to bring in all those things we've been talking about over the past few weeks to months. So once again, I'll ask you the question. When you're angry, okay? When you're angry, who's angry? Think, who's angry? When you're angry, who's angry? Because you know what? Let me tell you why I ask you this question. If we can find out who it is that is angry, then we can go and talk to them. We can go and help them. We can sit them down and we can treat them, can't we? But first we have to find out who it is that is angry. So when you're angry, okay? When you're angry, not when I'm angry, when you're angry, who's angry? Okay, well, when I'm angry, who's angry? It is I who's angry, isn't it? So when you're angry, it's you who's angry. Your answer is I. My answer is still I. When I'm angry, if you ask me that question, when I'm angry, who's angry? My answer is I am angry. And if I ask you the question, when you're angry, who's angry? What's the answer again? I am angry. So who's the angry one? I. I am the angry one. So I get angry. I become angry. Anger strikes me. So what happened before anger struck you? You were fine, weren't you? You were happy, you were cool, you were calm, you were joyful. You were just going on, doing whatever, and then all of a sudden you got angry. So before getting angry, you were, say, happy. You were happy. And then something happened, and then you were angry. So before you got angry, who was happy? Before you got angry, who was happy? You were happy, so I was happy. And then when you got angry, who was angry? I was angry. So let's say now you're angry, and then you throw a few things around, like the the drill. What happened to that flower vase? That was there. Just before the last time you got angry, it was on the somewhere, and then it's not there anymore. What happened? And those drawers that don't close properly anymore. And the doors that used to just you could just do that and it would go and close. There was a soft close to it, but now you have to kind of lift it up and close it because there's evidence. In a crime scene, there's always evidence. You can't see the broken hearts. I mean, the cost of anger is far more than the things you break. Because some things, they can never be mended once broken. And what's worse, they don't even show on the outside. It's all hidden. But the cracks never disappear. Are you with me? Make sense? Yeah? It's like a broken glass. You can stick the pieces back together, but the mark where you cracked, it'll always be there. That's why if we don't understand these emotions, ladies and gentlemen, our lives are going to be very difficult. And we can make life a living hell for others. So there may be one or two people in this audience as well who are renowned for their anger. Maybe, I don't know. Personally, I don't know any of you. I think you're all saints. Well, every saint has a past, and every sinner has a future. Yeah? So even if you are one of those, don't you worry, because you have a future. And in that future, you will be a saint. And every saint in the room, don't you get on that moral high horse, get back down, because we know who you used to be. We've all been there, done that. Right, let's come back to this then. I. So you see, now that you have been angry, then you realize, after you've calmed down a little, and then you start to regret. Right, that's anger's cousin. Right, they come after the party. Regret. You all know what I'm talking about? Yeah, regret. Then you want to take back everything you've said. You want to piece back everything you've broken. Right, you want to take back all those punches. And all those words that were said, you want to take it all back, but now, alas, it's too late. What is said has been said, it can never be taken back. So that's when you repent. Repent. Repentance. Who repents? Who regrets? Can you hear me? At the back? Gentleman at the back, sir, can you hear me? Okay. Who regrets? Once again, I regret. So, does it not feel like all of this actually happens something like this? Does it not feel like it's something like this that's actually happening? Let's take your lifetime. How long do you want to live? Sorry? 100 and? Okay, right. Let's say 80. Does that offend anyone? Oh, let's put it 100. Okay. Just to be on the safe side. I mean, I have to be on the safe side. You're going to come and talk to me later on. Say 100. Okay? So this is 0 to 100 years of whom? I. So I started then, and I will go on for 100 years, and during that period of time, these things will be happening to me. So this is your eye graph. Isn't this how you experience and how you feel things are happening to you? Isn't this a reasonably accurate depiction of how you feel life happens to you? I mean, these are only a few of them. I mean, there are plenty of other things. Like, let's say you are love struck. How shall we draw that? I mean, that is usually how it is, right? Happy, love, and then anger comes after that, right? Because you're happy, and then love happens. And then what happens after that? And then anger. And then, of course, regret. And then comes the divorce. And then you're happy again. Right? So there are a bunch of things that are going on in your life, and this is how you feel life happens. So, you call these the ups and downs of life. See, these are the ups. Happy, love. Then there are the downs. Anger, regret. So you call them the ups and downs of life. Meaning, my life goes on from when I started to when it will end. right? And then it just keeps flowing up and down, fluctuates. And then you call them the adversities, the vicissitudes of life. This is what you call them. And then, once in a while, you hit the jackpot. Maybe you win the lottery. You get a promotion. You get a big, nice bonus at the end of the year. Right? You have a child. You buy something you like. Someone gives you a gift that you weren't expecting. See, all of these things happen to a you who exists over a period of time. The reason that psychologists cannot yet figure out what anger is and regret is, depression, they're still working on it, and they have come as close as the mind, but they can't go any further than that because they haven't started delving into chittas. But that is why they can't quite work out what to do to not be angry in the first place. If you go to a psychiatrist because you're angry, they may be able to help you. Right? They'll sit down with you, they'll do some counseling, they might even give you some medication, and they'll say, right, take this and you keep coming for therapy, right? And I'll help you come back to a reasonably happy state of mind so you can go back and live your life okay-ish. Okay? They'll tell you that. But if you go to a psychologist and ask them, I'm okay now, I'm happy now, can you teach me how not to be angry? What do you think they're going to say? They're going to say, come back when you are. That's what they're going to say. Come back when you are. These are the limitations of medical science, mind science, if you like. If you want answers to things beyond this realm, then you have to go into the realms of the chittas, which are the underlying building blocks. So if you want to think of these as the molecules, you have to get atomic. Once you start getting there, it's a whole new ballgame. The dynamics change. It's like physics and quantum physics. It's a whole new dimension. This is all in the second dimension. See, I'm here and all of these things are going on in my life. That is a very two-dimensional view of the world. The truth is, that is not really what's going on. There is a truth that has been abstracted. There's a deeper truth that has been abstracted, ladies and gentlemen. That level of detail you don't understand, you don't come across until and unless you understand the concept of anicca. Until you come across the concept of anicca, you will not be able to understand this in any more depth than this. That's why any good psychologist who's worth his salt should next take a course in anicca. Because then they will understand what dukkha is. Dukkha is not suffering. Oh, no, dukkha is not suffering. How could it be suffering if once the Buddha has attained Buddhahood, he says, I have just realized dukkha. At that point he has become the Buddha, so he has eradicated all suffering, right? If he has eradicated all suffering, how come that is the point where he realizes what suffering is? It's not suffering. It's the word that we have come to use, and for whatever reason, for good or bad, for good or worse, that is the word that we have come to use today. But the Pali term for it is actually jati. Sometimes spelled with an H, other times without. Anicca, dukkha and anatta. These, if you like, are the three characteristics of existence. Or at least what seems like existence. Because nothing really exists. Nothing really exists. But you perceive existence. See? You perceive to exist over a duration of time. And then to the you that exists, these things happen. That's how you see the world, because that's how the world feels like to you. That's how it seems to you. And that is all because of a lack of understanding. One word for a lack of understanding is what? Ignorance. Lack of understanding of anicca, dukkha and anatta. Right. Let's try and get to the nitty-gritty and see what's actually going on then. This is what seems like is going on. All agreed? This is what it feels like is going on, right? You're alive, you live your life, right? So you have, say, 10 years, 20 years, 30, 40, 50, 60, and then you all live to up to 100 years of age. But all of these problems are going on in your life. You don't know, even when you get to this point, how to stop these things from happening. Because you exist and you're trying to stop these things from happening. The fundamental problem here is your existence, not that these things happening. Because for as long as you exist, ladies and gentlemen, for as long as you perceive that you exist, okay? For as long as you perceive you exist, these are all actually incidents. What's really going on are incidents. But when you exist, your responses are these. These are your responses. Isn't love a response? A mental, psychological response? Has anyone ever loved you? Has anyone ever given you love? What do you think? So someone who loves you comes up to you and say, I love you so much and I want to give it to you. What do you give them? Your address or your phone number? Or what do you give them? Someone comes up to you and says that they love you, and they love you so much that they're just bubbling with love and they want to give it all to you. Right? What is the love port? You have USB ports, and what is the love port? How do you get the love that they want to give you? There isn't one. The love that you feel is your response to an incident. They come and speak to you in certain words that are so endearing to you, and then you begin to think that you love them. They haven't given it to you. You think you love them, therefore you think they love you. It's kind of like that. That's why sometimes you are fooled. Has everyone you've ever loved also loved you the same? You don't like to answer that question. Hasn't life taught you enough lessons by this point? I mean, go back to your school years, right? Maybe when you had a crush on someone, right? And perhaps, they said something, they looked at you, it was kind of like a furtive glance, but that was all it was. Maybe they just looked at you accidentally, because it was just an incident. They were just looking around and they saw you and, your eyes met. And then you thought, she looked at me. And then in your mind, you're thinking, that's it. The deal is done. It's all sealed, right? We are going to get married. We're going to have babies, right? We're going to have this, that, the other. And then we're going to retire when we are 80. All that in your mind. But none of that is true. But you felt love, didn't you? And you kind of felt like it's something that they gave you. But did they really? No, ladies and gentlemen, because in the outside world, your senses are your doors to the outside world. Agreed? You cannot know anything that happens outside if your 6 senses don't pick it up. Take 5 senses for the time being. Leave the 6th sense out. The 5 senses that you have, if they don't pick it up, you have no idea what's going on out there. Okay? So tell me, can your eyes pick up love? Can your eyes pick up love? I mean, you have rod cells and cone cells. In the back of your eye, on your retina, you have rod cells and cone cells. Rod cells help you see black and white. Cone cells help you see color. Do you have love cells? So how do you say love is in the air? Then your ears, do they pick up love? Okay, someone's angry at you. Can you pick that up from them? Do you have anger receptors in your ears? Do you have vibration receptors? That's what you have. The little hairs in your ears which vibrate. That's what happens. What about in your nose? Can you pick up love? Or any of these emotions? Can you? No. Your physical body? Can you pick up any of these emotions? No, well then don't you understand, don't you agree, rather, that these are all eyes, not these eyes, responses to incidents that happen in the outside world. Because what you have out there are sights, sounds, smells, taste, and touch. When your 5 sense organs bring those interpretations of changes that happen in the outside world, that's all that happens. There are energy changes, energy flows. What is one energy transforms into another energy, and your senses pick up on that. When your senses pick up, that's a stimulus. And they relay that information to your brain, your mind interfaces, and then the mind comes up with a response to that. When you are an eye, you perceive these responses, or you perceive those stimuli in a very different way to when you understand the truth. Such as, when you see beauty, you think that the person or the sight that you have seen is actually beautiful. You can't help yourself from feeling that way. Think of someone you know that's beautiful. I know who you're all thinking of. No, not me. Yeah. You're thinking of yourself, aren't you? Huh? Or was it me? Oh, thank you. So think of someone beautiful. See, when you think of someone beautiful, and I ask you to do this practical exercise now, doesn't your mind tell you that beauty? I don't know, how do you draw beauty? Let's say that's beauty, which is also a mental response. Don't you feel that that beauty is actually in the object? That person is beautiful. The object is beautiful. Think of a flower arrangement. Think of this, for instance. These are the things that happen when you are an eye. When you are an eye, this is how you perceive the world. You can't help it. Try and not think, if you can, I dare you, that this flower arrangement is not beautiful. If you always thought that it was, if you didn't think it was beautiful, then of course it's no challenge. But if you actually thought that it was beautiful, it looks nice, it's quite nice, it's lovely. Right? Try and not think like that. You can't. So generally speaking, it is said that the fairer sex is better looking, right? Okay. Assuming that, think of someone that you know is beautiful. Say your mother is beautiful, or your sister, or maybe your loved one, maybe your daughter, right? Someone you know. Now, can you try and convince yourself, without the dhamma, no anicca, no dukkha, no anatta, can you try and convince yourself that actually no, they're not beautiful? You can't. It doesn't work like that. Because the moment you become an I, you have already started to fix things. In other words, you have created a world in which beauty exists and that beauty belongs to things. Kind of like these emotions, they belong to someone. See, they belong to you. And beauty, it belongs to the person that brings it to you. A sense of belonging, a sense of ownership appears in your mind. You can't help it. You really can't help it. It's not something you do deliberately. It's just something that happens because everything in the world are things that happen. There's no doer, there is only the done. So here's how the Buddha unravels this for us. Because even in his time, people would walk up to him and ask him, "Sir, I go through all these emotions in my life." And then there were those who could see their past lives as well. They would go into these deep states of meditation and they had these powers, psychic powers with which they could recall their past lives. And in their past lives, the same things used to happen. In their past lives, they used to be angry, they used to be sad, they used to be disappointed, they used to regret. The same emotional roller coaster, the same emotional drama used to happen even in their past lives. Now you're struggling with this life. Just imagine if you could recall your past lives and then you could see all of those things have been happening like forever. Like this is not enough. So don't ever wish for the ability to recall your past lives. I wouldn't recommend that. It's not advisable, at least not until you have come to terms with what these things are. Otherwise, you probably go hang yourself because of what you did in your past life. The many atrocities that we would have committed, that we are not very proud of. But now we've forgotten all that, so it doesn't bother us. So here's how the Buddha unravels this. They walk up to him and ask him, "Sir, this I, is this I in the incidents? Or is this I in these emotions? Do these emotions happen to I, or am I the emotion itself?" A number of questions like this, to which the Buddha's response was, "You're asking me the wrong question." He said, "You're asking me the wrong question." So, they said, "What is the right question to be asking if this is the wrong question?" And the Buddha says, "Don't ask me to whom these things are happening. Ask me why you feel that you are a you. Ask me why you perceive yourself to be yourself." In other words, see, we often focus our attention on these things, ladies and gentlemen, don't we? Isn't this your life basically? Trying to learn how to deal with these things? Answer. Isn't this what life is all about? Trying to learn how to deal with these things. There are always stimuli coming from the outside world, incidents going on in the outside world, and you have accidents here. See, this is the realm of accidents. When you don't know who you are unwise. And then you face these incidents that happen from the outside world. Now you have an accident where the two things collide. This is the accident zone. So what is life? 100 years, 90 years, 80 years of learning how to deal with these accidents. That's what life is. That's why you take classes. See, people try to remain happy as much as they possibly can. So when there are disappointments and frustrations in life, they try and work out, how do we push these stimuli back? The things that make me unhappy, how do I push them back so that they don't come and bite me? So they don't come and sting me? How do I push them back? There's someone, my next door neighbor, they always make me angry. How do I take them to court? Where can I find a good lawyer? See? They can't stop these mental responses because it's all happening down here. You can't stop that. So what you have to do now is push back this way and stop the stimuli, stop the incidents. But hey, guess what? That's the world. If you want to stop that, try and stop the earth rotating on its axis. Because what if one fine day you get angry about that? Huh? I mean, people already complain about the weather. When it rains, what do people say? Oh, is it lovely? We've got rain today. Is that what people say? No, it's raining today. You can't do anything. It's just raining all day. It's been raining cats and dogs. And then the rain stops. And then the sun comes out. Now there's a scorching heat. And now what do people say? Not a drop of rain. How do you make people happy? You can't, because they haven't understood the philosophy of happiness. You see, because they're always dealing with these accidents. They're always living in the accident zone. No wonder. You can't stop the emotional backlash. You can't stop the incidents from happening. No? You're susceptible to these things. You're completely vulnerable. What they teach you at school, though, is to learn about these things a little bit more. So they teach you science, so that one day when the earth is, we've completely ruined this planet and we can no longer live here, we've cut down all the trees and we've completely destroyed our oceans and the soil and all that, then we can go and rehabilitate another planet. Right? So we have to continue space exploration. So NASA should always be there. So we should always keep learning about space and rocket science. It should become mainstream. I tell you what, why don't they start teaching it at kindergarten? It's just a matter of time. Because at this rate, when our kindergartens, they grow up, they're not going to have a planet to live on. So we had better teach them these things right now. Because guess what? Soon enough, they will destroy the moon as well. And then we'll have to go and inhabit Mars. And then Venus. And then one day Jupiter. There's going to be a day when Pluto is not going to be enough. Insatiable desires, ladies and gentlemen, because you're not dealing with the actual beast here. We spend too much of our time in this accident zone, trying to learn and educate ourselves, pick up knowledge, read books, go on the internet, find out, research, experiment, how to push these things back as much as we possibly can, try and just get the things that we enjoy, we like, that makes our lives happy, because we don't know how to deal with these emotions. That's why the Buddha says, you're asking the wrong question. Don't ask, where is I in any of these? Don't ask me, how can I always be happy? How do I push back these emotions? How do I change the world out there? Ask this question. Why do I sense that it is an I who goes through this experience? Because you know what, ladies and gentlemen? The day that you can reinterpret incidents merely as incidents, that's a day when this is going to happen in your life. That's it. No anger. What else do you have on the list? No anxiety. No worry, no sadness, no jealousy. You'll ask me, what about happiness, Swaminathan? So we want to be happy. Not that kind of happiness. This happiness that you saw on the board, that was only the time between two moments of unhappiness. That is what happiness for you in your life. Between two moments of unhappiness is a moment of happiness. It's a break. It's a moment of respite. That's all it is. It's merely an oasis in a desert. You can't live there forever. You have to keep moving. That's why it's time we step outside of the accident zone. To step outside of the accident zone, you got to get rid of this bugger. This one right here. And as with all things, if you want to stop a fire, what do? You have to understand the fire. Once you've understood the fire, you know what causes give rise to the fire. And then that empowers you. So if you can figure out if you can figure out what this I is, who this guy is, this sense of self that you all have, that will cease. And then all of these incidents will simply be incidents. You'll have sights, you'll have sounds, you'll have smell, you'll have taste, you'll have touch. They will be perceived. And that's it. Then you can become equanimous, upeksha. That is the nature of an arahant, who has accepted everything. Oftentimes people think that the sásana is about changing. No, it's not. Sásana is about accepting. And where does acceptance start? It starts with you. Acceptance has to start with you. That's why I said right at the beginning, we often are happy to forgive and forget things that other people have done to us. When people have hurt us, out of the kindness and gentleness of our hearts, we are happy to forgive them. But when you have wronged, when you know it is you who has done something wrong, when you know it is you who is angry, when you know it is you who has these lustful thoughts, when you know it is you who goes through jealousy and envy, you struggle to accept that. The first step to dealing with any of these emotions, ladies and gentlemen, is first to accept. Because until you accept, how can you put it on the table to study it? You have to put these emotions on the surgical table. But first you have to accept it. So if you're someone who gets angry all the time, accept it. By accepting it, I don't mean that it's perfectly fine to always be angry. That's not what I'm saying. First, be at peace with the fact that you are dealing with anger, not I am angry. Anger. I'm dealing with anger. Anger you can put on the surgical board, on the surgical table. You can cut it, you can slice it, you can analyze it and try and understand what anger is. But when that becomes you, when you personify anger, now you hate yourself for being angry. You know, when there are times, and I know Pretty much everyone does this. So that's why I'm taking my time here to try and get this into your mind, so that at least from here on you can live peacefully with yourselves. You try and get along with your neighbors, don't you? It's far more difficult to get along with yourself. That's the thing. If you don't like your neighbors, you can relocate. You can move house. But what about when you don't like yourself? Where do you run? Even if you ran, where could you hide? That's the thing. First, you have to be accepting of yourself. There will be things that have happened in your past. There will be thoughts that always keep bothering you in your mind. Maybe you're a married man, maybe you're a married woman, and you're having feelings and thoughts about some other person. And you know it's wrong. And you hate yourself for it. That's not where we start. First, you have to accept it. Accepting doesn't mean you go do whatever you want. Accepting it is understanding, yes, this is a problem. I'm okay with the problem. Now let's work on it. Because if you keep on hating yourself, now you have two problems. There is the problem, and there is you hating the you who has the problem. See? So you can't deal with the actual problem. The Buddha says, Sarágan va cittan, Sarágan cittanti pajánáti. What the Buddha says is, when there is a chitta that has been struck by raga, raga is desire. When a chitta arises and it has desire in it, understand and accept that it is merely a chitta that has desire in it. That's it. See, Sarágan va cittan, Sarágan cittanti pajánáti. Come to your senses is what he says, that this is merely a chitta that has desire in it. Sadosang va cittan, sadosang cittanti pajánáti. When a chitta arises and it has anger, recognize that. Acknowledge that. Accept that. That it is just a chitta that has anger. Don't personify that. Don't identify yourself with that. Don't beat yourself up that you're angry. So when you're sad, now here's the thing. This is very difficult to do when you're actually going through these emotions. Agreed? Which is to be accepted, because when you're going through these emotions, your mind is in complete darkness. There is not a ray of ignorance, there's not a ray of wisdom there. That's why you're actually going through that. And which comes back to the point I made originally. The Sambuddha Sásana should not be used as a repair shop. Ideally, it is where you would come before you are broken. So give yourselves a pat on the back for being here right now and today. This is the time to be here, when you're not broken, when you're okay. I know you're not great, but you're okay. You're okay. So you're okay most of the time. What happens though? You fall. And you try and get back up to okay. And you fall again. This is life, isn't it? I want you to get to great. Great is better than okay. It will happen. But this is the stepping stone to greatness. First you have to be okay. When you're down here, it's very difficult. Because there's no peace in your mind. There's no joy in your mind. What is it then that we have to understand about yourself? You are not actually a self. What you are is a series of chittas. In fact, that sentence itself is wrong, ladies and gentlemen. When I say you are a series of chittas, that is wrong. Because it gives you the impression that, again, there is I, and I am made up of a series of chittas. Because that's how I've put it, right? You are a series of chittas. That is not so. Here's how I'm going to have to put it. Series of chittas. Who? That's the wrong question. That's the wrong question. What you have asked is a very profound question. I don't think I'll be able to answer this question in one day, but we will work through it. This is the preface. Maybe we'll touch on chapter 1 today. I mean, after you've managed yourself to deal with all these emotions, you need not come here again. This is what this project is about. How can you have a state of mind where you're never angry? Where you're never disappointed, where you're never frustrated? These are the issues that you have in your lives. That's why you're here. But this is what we need to understand to get there. So rather than thinking, let's see what the truth is. This is what you think is happening. There's an I who's traveling through time, and as you travel, these things happen, and when they happen, you have a mental response back to them. These mental responses are the things that bother you. Because you know, let's be honest, when you get angry, you don't like to be angry. Isn't that your problem? See, if I ask you this question, if you go all the way back to when you were just learning about life, right? You were just getting to know who you were, finding your feet and just understanding the things that are going on around you, getting to learn about your family and all that. At that point, when you were angry, whenever you got angry, you would have felt that there are people out there, if only they stopped doing those things, I would be fine. From there, you then got to a point where, let them do what they want to do, but if only I didn't get angry about it, then I would be fine. Yeah, that was stage 2, phase 2. So what was phase 1 again? When we were just very childish, very immature. Our response was, why don't they just stop doing that? And then we'd be fine. I'd be fine. That was phase 1. Change the world out there. Then you came to phase 2. So phase 1 was, you wanted to stop all these things from happening. People doing things to you. Then came phase 2. The I was still there, but you had all this mental turmoil that's going on. You wanted to learn how to not have these things when those things would happen. So how can I be more emotionally intelligent? There are books on this stuff, aren't there? Emotional intelligence, emotional quotient, and all sorts of things. If you go into any good library, you can find many books written on this kind of things, positive thinking, and that sort of category of things. So you wanted to have a better response to the outside world stimuli. That was phase 2. Now we are stepping into phase 3. What do bad people do? I know there's no such thing called bad people, but what do immature, bad-ish people do? Here's what they do. They try and stop these things from happening, and they fight back, they retaliate. What do good people do? Good people, let the world do whatever it wants, but they try and respond in a good way. So when they're angry, they try not to show their anger. They're still angry inside, but they try not to show their anger, and they go for a walk to cool themselves down. That's what good people do. What do great people do? Good people, they do the world a favor. Okay? Good people, they do the world a favor. Great people do themselves a favor. What do you think about that? See, bad people, they keep fighting back. They war. They throw bombs at each other. They attack. They fight. That's what bad people do. Sabba papa sakaranang is what the Buddha said. Stop all evilness. This is what bad people do. They do evil things to others. They kill, they destroy, they steal. They run away with another man's wife. That's what they do. They lie. They cheat. They break things. They destroy. But one fine day they come across a good teacher. And they become good people. Good people do the world a favor. They become more accepting, more forgiving. But great people, they don't stop there. They do themselves a favor. Where do you want to be? Where do you want to be? Exactly. You can't become a great person until you have become a good person, though. That's why Sabba Papa Sakaranang is the first line of that stanza. Because when you come into this stage, right, you stop doing demerits and you start doing merits. That's what you do. You start helping, you start healing the world. But still, you have yourself here. Sometimes it's very hurtful, it's very painful to do that. You have to be tolerant, you have to be patient. Who enjoys being patient? Put your hand up if you enjoy being patient. Or you want to do it because you have no choice. There you go. Because you want to do your family a favor, so you're patient. Someone does something bad to you, you're patient because you want to be forgiving. That's why you're patient. Someone just steals your money. When they bring it back to you, instead of putting them behind bars, you say, all right, okay, it's fine. Just don't do it again. It hurts. But you don't try and teach them a lesson that they're never going to forget. You're forgiving, you're patient. But when you can move down here into greatness, that is when you start doing yourself a favor. What is down here then? Is your understanding that this I is really an individual chitta. At any given moment, ladies and gentlemen, it is only an individual chitta. That is why I said it is wrong of me to say that you are a series of chittas, because once again it gives you the impression that this is you and you are just a bunch of chittas. That gives you the impression that all of this is you. It's not. All of this is not you. Then how much of it is you? If all of this is not you, how much of it is you? How much? None of it is you. So what are you then? You are just a chitta. You are just a chitta. When? When are you just a chitta? You are just a chitta when you are a chitta. When are you not one? When you are not one. See, this whole you and I, these pronouns that we use, that's where things go wrong. Remember, we didn't invent a language to talk about Nibbāna, did we? We didn't invent a language to talk about pure energy. We invented a language to talk about things that we created out of pure energy. This pen, once never had any shape. It was just energy, just like you. Just like you, this pen once never had any shape. But there was a vexation somewhere. There was a vexation in a mind. In a chitta, there was a vexation. That chitta came first. The pen came next. So sometimes scientists struggle to answer the question, was it chicken or egg? But was it pen or mind? Pen or chitta, which came first? The chitta came first. And then there was a vexation. There was a vexation, a wanting to write. There was a desire to write, to express an idea in written form. So what this chitta was able to do is it went to pure energy. Now I know there are billions of questions going through your mind right now. Where did that go? Pure energy? Where's that? How do we get there? Just hold on for now. Right? Just take in all this and I'll help you to join the dots as we go along. Okay? Just bear with me for the time being. There was once a stage where none of you were like this. And you're thinking, that was before the Big Bang, Swami. No, I'm talking about even before the Big Bang. Because since the Big Bang, people have been counting time. Time is not a realm that is there in reality. Time is a dimension that you create in your mind. But there was a point where this didn't have this form, ladies and gentlemen. It didn't have this form. It was just imagine this was just energy. Just imagine that for the time being. This is just energy. But when a mind wishes to express itself, and it needs a written form, an instrument, a device with which it can express itself, now it's going to go to pure energy and it's going to form something like this, mold something like this out of pure energy, and there you go, you have a pen. That's how we all came into this world as well. All you are, again that said, I'm sorry, I have to keep saying this, not all you are. As I said, all these pronouns, you, I, we, he, she, it's, all of these things are quantifiers of energy. When I say you, isn't that a quantity of energy? When I say I, isn't that a quantity of energy? We, what about we? Isn't that a quantity of energy? So does that not mean that when we talk about these pronouns, we are talking about energy quantified? Meaning energy brought together in some form and now it has been separated from the rest of it. So you see, these are words that human beings came up with to refer to separated things. So these words really are nonsensical. Although we use it for our convenience, that's why they're called conventional truths. All conventions are for convenience. They are not absolute truths. Ask the Buddha what the absolute truths are. He will tell you Chitta, Chaitasika, Rupa and Nibbāna. Where's you? Where's I? Where's he, she and it? Where's we and they? So it would be wrong for me to say that you are a chitta. Because I know, and I say that because the moment I say that you are a chitta, you're still going to perceive that there's me, and right now I'm a chitta. So I'm a series of chittas. So that is what my past was. In the past I was another chitta. In the future I'll be another chitta. So I'm just one chitta to the next chitta to the next chitta to the next chitta. That's what I am. I'm just a series of chittas. That's not what I'm actually trying to get across to you. All I'm saying is, actually what I'm trying to say is, this chitta is all there is. Because the chitta vexes, not you, when this chitta vexes to perceive an identity Identities don't exist in this world. So what it has to do is to create one, fabricate one. Hello? Is this all going over your head? One of these days we have to talk about this stuff. And by the way, if not much of this sermon makes sense, don't worry. Okay? You can come next week also. I don't expect these sermons to make sense at the drop of a hat. It'll take their time. Let it take their time. Remember what I said about acceptance? Accept yourself as someone who couldn't understand today's sermon. What's the deal? If you can't accept yourself as someone who couldn't understand today's sermon, you're not going to come back next week to try and understand it a second time. If you can't accept who you are, you can't accept the world. You will never become an arahant. Find peace within first, and then make peace outside. When I started on the path to Nibbāna, I took stock of all my defilements, all my weaknesses, all my idiosyncrasies, all my shortcomings. And I said, I'm okay with that. Because in the Sásana, they're okay with anything. But when you go to the outside world, it is not so. You can't walk up to your wife and say, you know what, I always get angry. Be okay with that. I have feelings for next door. Be okay with that. In the Sásana, you can. You can walk up to your teacher and you can tell your teacher, Venerable Sir, I like eating apples. I like mangoes. I like pineapples. I like women. Oh, and I like men. You know what my teacher's going to tell me? It's okay. Go to your boss and tell him, I like children. What if you're a pedophile? Someone who likes children. Where do we take them to heal them? Where do we take them to heal them? Where? To the Sásana. Of course. Because it's a disease. Just as it is a disease to like apples or oranges. Because whatever the mind takes upon as a drushti, as something that brings it pleasure, that is what the mind wants. Today the world is more accepting of same-sex relationships. But if you go back a few decades, that was not so. If one is wrong, the other is wrong as well. Which is right? To be homosexual or heterosexual? Which one's right? If it's wrong to be sexual, then which one's right? Why does a chitta need the presence of another human being to be happy? It's a chitta. But when a chitta becomes an I, then it tries to understand who that I is. So when this chitta begins to feel that I am an I, it goes in front of the mirror and looks in the mirror and says, oh, I'm a man. So what does it say in the book? That a man should be with a woman. Right, so then I'm supposed to like women. That's how it works. So if you're a man today and you like a woman, if you're a woman today and you like a man, that's what happened. It's only a thought that you have in your mind. It is not real. You have convinced yourself that you are a man because you're not. The bodies may be representations of what a masculine form is. Your bodies may be a representation of what feminine form is. I'm talking about your mind. Your body doesn't seek the association of another human being, does it? Does your body need the association of another human being? No, who needs it then? The mind needs it. So is your mind a man or a woman? Cakkuncha paticca rupecha uppajjati cakku viññāna. That's how a chitta is born. When an object comes in front of the eye, a chitta is born. The chitta is born to perceive the object. The object that just came in contact with the eye. That's what the chitta is born for. So why does it feel that it's a man? See how crazy it is? What goes on is this, ladies and gentlemen. Besides perceiving the object, this chitta also wants to believe that it is an identity. It's a self. It wants that. But it's not there. Because all that came from the outside world was an object, say an apple. So the eye saw an apple. And this chitta was born to perceive the apple. But alongside that, it also has this view that it is nice to be a person, an individual, an entity. It's good to be an entity. So what the chitta does now is, because an entity was not something that came from the outside, it has to fabricate one. So now what does the chitta do? It actually fabricates an entity. And that fabrication is what you experience as an identity. In each chitta, it does that. Each chitta that runs inside these bodies of yours, you fabricate a sense of identity. And then you look at your physical form and you convince yourself that you are either man or woman. And then you read the book. You ask people, I'm a man, what am I supposed to do? I'm a woman, what am I supposed to do? When you were very young, they would say, oh, you're a woman, you're supposed to play with dolls. Okay. And you're supposed to like pink. Okay. So you liked pink. There's no logic. It's just what you were fed. You are what you eat after all. And then when you knew that you were a man, you were a boy, then you asked people, what am I supposed to do? So by that time, these indoctrinations were rife. There were set customs and norms and ways in which people would function, society would function. Yeah? So when you came into this world, they had already established that if you were a boy, you're supposed to like what color? What color? Blue. And what things for toys? Dolls? No, cars. And so that's what society fed you. One indoctrination at a time. And then you were supposed to hang around with your own kind of people. So the boys hung around with the boys. The girls hung around with the girls. Continuously feeding and it was a self-fulfilling prophecy, ultimately. When you thought you were a girl, you became a girl. So you constantly brought into your environment the things that you thought defined you. And then it was just a vicious circle from there on. When you thought you were a girl, you surrounded yourself by girly things, and then you grew up being a girl and today into a woman. You weren't born, if you are a woman today, you weren't born to like a man. He was fed into you. That was just data that was fed into your computer. Today, you run that program. A chitta was born. That was what was born, a chitta, to perceive an object. What gender is a chitta? Male or female? Neither. So, but why do you identify yourself as a gender with a gender? You don't just talk about your physical form, do you? You actually feel that you are a man or a woman, don't you? Mentally. So much so that if you woke up tomorrow in the body of the opposite gender, how would you feel? Yay! Or, well, aren't you going to feel like something's just completely wrong? I mean, if you're just a chitta, why would it matter which physical form you are? Why would it matter? You should just be able to change your physical form like you put on your clothes and take them off, right? But tomorrow morning, if you woke up, you're a man today, you wake up in the body of a woman, or you're a woman today, you wake up in the body of a man, you're going to be shocked. Aren't there people who are actually born like that? Actually, they're not born like that. They were not always born like that. Let's put it that way. Sometimes there are karmas of previous lives that influences the way they think. So yes, there can be the odd occasions where someone's born as a male or a female, and right from when they were children, they just couldn't identify themselves with their physical forms. And so then they try to go through a sex change. But the thing is this, these indoctrinations need not have come in this lifetime. When did you start samsara? This life? So it was previous lives that started it all. So you still carry on though, right? There you go. I mean, if someone comes up to me and asks, how do you prove that there was life before this? My question is, how do you prove that there wasn't? What is a logical explanation? Because, if it's a chitta that is born, why was that chitta born? Because the previous chitta created the environment for this chitta. That's what always happens. Each chitta creates the environment for the next chitta, and that for the next one, and that for the next one. So somewhere, someday, the first chitta was born. We'll talk about that another time. But ever since, like you keep changing your clothes, your physical forms have changed. But that's not me saying that this is you traveling in your chittas. That's not me saying that, by the way. But a chitta was born. And in each of those chittas, ladies and gentlemen, each of those chittas, there was a vexation for a sense of identity. And that sense of identity had to be fabricated. So you fabricated it. You're doing it right now. So much so, this is the last piece we'll talk for today. So much so, let's just say this is the chitta that's in you right now. Let's freeze time for a second. Okay? This is you. This is your chitta right now. Okay. Oh, this is the chitta right now. So if there are, let's say, 200 of you here, there are 200 of these that have just been born. Okay? A moment ago, there were also another 200. Yeah, or let's say this way. A moment ago, there were another 200. This is the chittas born right now. And a moment later, there will be another 200. It's just waiting for us to put the play button and it will keep on moving. But we have just frozen time for the time being. Now think about this for a second. If you can get this concept, you are well and truly on the path to liberation. The sense of self you experience in this moment is a brand new fabrication. You have never been this person before. You have never been this chitta before, and the sense of self that is created in this chitta has never been created before. It is a brand new fabrication of a sense of self. In the previous chitta, the same thing happened. This chitta is not the same as this chitta. This was a previous chitta. It was there then. It is not here now. And in that chitta as well, because there was a vexation a desire to sense a sense of self, it fabricated a sense of self. That was its own distinct sense of self. Now tell me, are you that person? Is it this person who is now this person? In the next chitta, if you continue to be vexed and seek a sense of self, because this chitta is going to be born purely out of contact, eye, sight, sound, ear, and so on. This chitta is going to be born purely out of contact to perceive the object that came into contact. But because it has this desire to sense a sense of self, what it's going to do is it's going to go into vexation mode, and to relieve itself of that vexation, it's going to fabricate another sense of self. This is a brand new instance of jati. Each chitta creates its own jati, meaning in each chitta you are a brand new sense of self. So where are you? I know one question still lingers in the back of your minds. How come then I still feel that it was I who was there a few moments ago? That is because of memory. Each chitta, as it creates a sense of self, with a sense of self comes a sense of time. Because with existence, you need something to measure existence, don't you? What do you measure existence with? What is the dimension? Time. Time is the dimension with which you measure existence. So when you perceive existence, now you need a dimension of time. The moment you have a dimension of time, now you have to fill things into that dimension. So where do you get your stuff from? Memory. So each of these chittas, they go into memory. They go into memory and they bring back a fragment of whatever's happened in the past. Happened to whom? Happened to whom? Wrong answer. Wrong question. It never happened to anybody. It happened to a chitta. It's kind of like this. Let's go back 10 generations. 10 generations ago, your great-great-great-great-great-great-great grandfather, he deposited some money into a bank account. He passed away. His son also deposited some money that he owned or he earned into the same bank account. He passed away. His son did the same. And his son did the same, and so on. Today, how much money do you have? When you go into that bank, and if you have been entitled to draw money from that bank, is that your money? Who put money in the bank? Your ancestors did. Yeah? But because it is your ancestors, you're entitled to walk into the bank and draw a check or make a withdrawal. But it was not you who put the money in the bank. There were individuals who put money into the bank. But because they all put the money into the same bank, into the same account, which today you are entitled to draw from, you get this feeling that it is all my money. So whose memory is this? Yours? Then who walked into this room? Shall I ask you a better question? Who started listening to the first part of this question? And who's trying to come up with an answer to that? Welcome to the truth. But each of these chittas, each one fully equipped with ignorance, is capable of creating one of these babies. See, each of these chittas is like a womb, isn't it? Each of these chittas is like a womb. Here's a fetus. It's just spawned a new instance of jati. And because it is capable of going into that bank and asking for the current balance and drawing on all of the money that was put in it, it thinks that it was I who was there before, and before, and before that. Was it? Each chitta that deposited money into that memory bank passed away. Just like your father, your grandfather, your great-grandfather and his father before then put money into the same account. Today, you walk into that bank and make that withdrawal as if it was your money. It is by entitlement. It is because it's your inheritance. But that's all. You never put the money into the account. So why do you take credit or blame for your past? So last year, you won the gold medal at the Olympics. Today, what do you have to say about that? When you come up on this stage and you stand up here and say, you know what, I won the gold medal last year for the Olympics, at the Olympics. You know what a fool you look like. Why? Why do I say that? Was it you who won it? So how do you know, why do you think that you won it? Because whoever won took a picture and put it into memory. Whoever. That was a chitta. That was a chitta. This chitta now, in that generations of chittas, is able to go back in there and have a bit of a rummage and see what's in there. And then you find this picture of the awarding ceremony of a gold medal. Oh, so it was I who won it. Brilliant. So you come up on stage and say, I won the gold medal last year. How silly. And then there's more. 2 years ago, you cheated on your wife. There was a memory that was deposited when that happened. Today, from time to time, you go in there, you have a bit of a rummage, you pick up some old dusty photographs, you look at it, and you convince yourself, it was I who did it. This innocent chitta, who's never wronged anyone, let alone a wife, now takes blame for someone else's mistake. That's why I say, accept, for you haven't wronged. Now do you see what Jesus said? Come unto me, all ye who are weary and burdened, and I will set you free. So if you were weary and burdened by the faults of your past, by the demons of your past, here's the truth. Here's the truth. So who are you? Are you a chitta? Just a chitta. So if it's just a chitta, why do you feel like you need someone else in your life to live with? Why do you feel like you need a family? Why do you feel like you need a wife or a husband or a girlfriend or a boyfriend? Why do you feel you need that? Here's why. Because in this womb, there's a fetus. And that fetus gives rise to an instance of self. You create it because you want it. You create it. It's not there. Unless you want it, it's not there. When you want it, you create it. That's when arahant doesn't want it. They're content. So there's no one in this room who can say that I'm content. You cannot be. People think contentment is simply being okay with eating what you have, living where where you are, right? People think that is what contentment is. Yes, to some extent, yes. But true contentment is not that. True contentment is ultimate bliss. It's a synonym. It's when your chitta can be content with just being a chitta and not desiring to be anything more than that. A chitta's function is purely to perceive the object that has been put in front of it and pass away. That's what a chitta's objective is. That's what a chitta was born for. That's what its purpose is. But the moment it arises in a bed of ignorance, now there is a fetus. In this womb there's a fetus. This fetus gives rise to an instance of jati. Jati is separation. Jati is identity. Jati is self. Jati is what makes you feel that you are an individual. Each chitta feels that because each chitta generates that, ladies and gentlemen. And then once you feel that you are an individual, now you have to give it definition. Don't you? You have to give it definition now. So once you have to give it definition, now you look at the outside world, you take on lots more drushti, lots more views. You ask people around you, who am I? Because the moment you feel that you are an I, you have to have these questions. Who am I? You can't just be an I. That I has to have some definition. It needs high definition. So then you go asking who that I is, and then people give you answers. Ask your mother. And what will your mother say? Ke sara sara. Your mother will say, Dua, you're a girl. What are you doing? These are not things that girls do. Haven't your mother said that? Who decided that you were going to get earrings? Your parents decided that. Does a chitta want earrings? I mean, does a chitta even have an ear to have earrings? No, right? There you go. But a chitta, once it begins to think that it is a self, then it starts asking questions about who is this self that I am? And then people say that you are a girl. Ah, well, what are girls supposed to do then? They are supposed to have earrings. Right? Well, then let's put earrings on. All of those drushtis came into your head. Those views, those indoctrinations. And now you have to have them. Now you have to have them. The same thing happened when you walked in front of the mirror and started putting that lipstick on. The same thing happened with your eyeliners. The same thing happened with your necklace. The same thing happened with your nose strings. And the rest is history. That's why today you're married. Now do you see the logic behind all that nonsense? So, why am I not married then? I have understood who I am. That's why. Why don't I have a girlfriend? Without meaning to offend, because I'm normal. My mind doesn't need one. No mind needs one. Let's be honest, no mind needs one. But when the mind goes on to create this jati, and the Buddha gives the process that this jati is created, that is the dependent origination process. Avidya paccaya, sankhara paccaya, vijnana paccaya, nama rupa. You know the drill. He explains how this fetus, this jati comes into being. That's why ultimately it says upadana paccaya, bhava paccaya, jati. Jati paccaya, jara, marana, shoka, parideva. Weren't those the things we drew on the board earlier? Fear, grief, lamentation. Weren't those things we put on the board earlier? There you go. Jati paccaya, jara, marana, shoka, parideva, dukka, domana, supayasa. That's the accident zone. So then why do you feel anger? There you go. Why do you feel sadness? There you go. Why do you feel jealousy? There you go. I mean, we can get into the intricacies of how anger differs to jealousy and how that differs to sadness and that differs to grief and that differs to sorrow and all that. But once you boil it down, this is the fundamental. These are the fundamental concepts. This is the truth that nobody can deny. If you are denying this, then you tell me, what better way is there? What is your alternative suggestion to not be angry? If you can give me a better idea, a better proposal, a better solution, I'm prepared to listen to you. And if I'm convinced, I'm prepared to disrobe. And I promise you, that promise still stands. I will come and work for you 1 whole year without pay. I will slave for you because I've been wasting your time, haven't I? Every Sunday you've been bringing yourself here. How much of your time have I wasted by now? If all of this is not the truth. You're very important people. You have very important things to be doing with your time. I will slave for you, each and every one of you that can come up to me and say, Swaminatha, no, this is not right. I have a better solution. This is the truth. I have just explained to you the 4 noble truths without actually putting it in those words. Idan dukkan, ariyasaccan, pubbé anunutsutésu, dhammésu, cakkun, udapádi, says the Buddha. Because I have just realized that this is dukkha. This is jati. Jati is dukkha. Idan dukka samudaya, ariyasaccan, pubbé anunutsutésu, dhammésu, cakkun, udapádi. The cause of this is attachment. Now you can start making sense of all that. Attachment to what? Attachment to a sense of identity. That is what. Attachment to for a need, a desire, a longing to sense that you are a self, an identity. Because it's not there, because vipaka doesn't give that, you have to create a karma to create that. It is only out of a karma can you create a sense, create a jati. That is what karma is after all. Your creation of jati, your creation of all these. So once you stop that, no more karma. This is just a vipaka chitta. That is an arahant. Your karma is your creation. Karma is creation. Your karma is your creation. Creation of not a self, but a sense of self. Because what is created is jati. When jati is created in the mind perceives a sense of self. A sense of separation, separateness, uniqueness, like you all feel right now, that you are different to the person sat next to you, that you are a you are very special, you are very unique. That's why you look for a name. Because if I am not the person sat next to me, if I'm very different, then I have to have a name. I have to identify myself with something. Who am I? Now do you see how people get egotistical? Because when you are a self, when you are someone, now it's better to be a better someone than a lesser someone, right? So now there's comparison and competition in the world. What a rat race of a life people get themselves into because they have not understood the truth. That's why people are always competing with each other to try to be the better one, to try to be the faster one, to try to be the smarter one, to try to be the richer one, to try to be more beautiful than everybody else. What part of the mind is beautiful? It's just a chitta. But when it identifies itself as a self and looks at itself in the mirror, now it thinks that the body is also part of itself. So now it has to look beautiful because that is what helps the mind to compare itself with others and help itself feel that it's better than everyone else. Inferiority complex. Whenever the mind feels that it has to do more to itself, to be more presentable, to be more likable, to be more sociable, that is the operation of an inferiority in the mind, because the mind is not happy, it's not content, so it has to do something so that society accepts it. That's why it's not good enough to get out of just any old car. You have to get out of a branded car. That is why it's not good enough to just wear any old hat or wear any old wristwatch. It has to be a branded wristwatch. It has to be a polo shirt. It has to be a branded pair of shoes. All of those things give you a sense of satisfaction. Why? Because the mind is vexing. That's why when someone gives you a compliment and says, "Wow, you look nice today," it makes you feel good. That's your ego. Where did that ego come from? This jati. That's why when you post your pictures on social media, whatever, you want people to comment on that. You want people to like it. You want people to share it and people to say good things about you, because your mind goes into a state of vexation. It is an identity now. It is a self. So now it needs recognition. It's only a chitta, ladies and gentlemen. But now it's forgotten the plot. It's lost the plot entirely. It thinks that it is a self. Because of the creation of jati, ignorance did all that dirty work. So now that it thinks that it is a jati, it is a self, it's an identity, now it has to prove itself to others. Because if I am, I have to be someone. So then it matters how many friends you have on your Facebook. Then it matters what others say about you. Then it matters that you have a pimple on your cheek. It does. Unless that's the thing these days. Then it matters that you don't have one. That's why you go online, young ladies, girls these days, is it fine to have dimples? Or should I do something about it? I have freckles on my skin. Should I do something about it? See, the cosmetic industry thrives in your ignorance. It's not their fault. It's yours. For as long as you're ignorant, people will exploit that. Because they are also ignorant. If you're ignorant, try and hang around people who are not ignorant. At least not as ignorant as you are, because otherwise they will exploit you until you are dead. Thus, I offer to you the Mahasangha. A community of men and women who are either free of ignorance or are working to free themselves from ignorance. So if the Sangha is not the refuge, what is? If Dhamma is not your refuge, what is? If freedom from jati is not your refuge, which is the same as Buddha, Buddha is that. Buddha is freedom from this. If Buddha is not your refuge, what is? If all your problems up here in the accident zone are rooted in this jati, if Buddha is not your refuge, what is? How many years are you going to live to convince yourself that unless I find answers in the Sásana, there is never going to be an answer elsewhere? How much longer do you want to age yourself? How many more years are you going to try it out? How much more money do you want to earn before you're convinced that money does not eradicate jati? If you've understood this, ladies and gentlemen, you don't need me to invite you to come to the Sásana. You will beg to come into the Sásana. Fortunately, you haven't understood it yet. I begged to enter the Sásana on my knees. I walked up to my teacher and I begged him. I beseeched him, please accept me into the Sásana. For only in the Sásana do I have answers to my problems. Why do people commit suicide? They can't help the creation of a jati in their minds. And when that happens, they can't stop all of these two-dimensional emotional responses that are going on in their mind. They can't help regret. How can you help regret when you keep on going into the memory, into your memory banks, and drawing down on memories of things you've done in the past and feeling that it is you who did it? How can you stop that? How can you stop? I ask you, how can they stop? So how can you stop someone from being suicidal? If it's not you today, it'll be you tomorrow. No one plans to have suicidal thoughts. Why do people have midlife crises? They go through life thinking that one day I'm going to be happy when I have this much money, when I have this much property, when I have this family, when I have that, when I have this for a job, I'll be happy. And so those milestones keep passing them by, but happiness doesn't come. And then how do you stop the inevitable? One fine day you're going to realize my life is just passing me by, but happiness just keeps on escaping me. What did I come here to achieve? What was my purpose in living? Midlife crisis. I tried getting married, didn't work out. I divorced, I got married to another one, didn't work out, that got divorced as well, tried another one. When do I learn my lesson? That's what people go through. That's what you've been going through. So as I say, I need not invite you, ladies and gentlemen, to the Sásana. You have to come begging on your knees, just as I once did, if you have understood the truth. I dare you, prove to me that any of this is wrong, and offer to me an alternative truth. I'm prepared to disrobe. Because if this is not the right answer, I don't want to be in the Sásana one more day. But I can tell you this much. I had to struggle with all of this many, many, many times over. Today, I'm free from many of them. And all I did was the Sásana. So if you're going to come up to me and say that the Sásana is not true, something else is the answer, I have empirical evidence. I have actual evidence. I am the evidence. So for you to prove that something else is the truth, you're going to have to prove me wrong. Whatever joy, whatever bliss, whatever happiness I enjoy today, you'll have to prove that this is not happiness at all. All right? Come forward then. I speak to you so confidently, not because I'm trying to stack it high and sell it cheap. I speak to you so confidently because I speak with conviction. Been there, done that, and it works. So money is not going to bring you happiness, ladies and gentlemen. You can keep on earning it. Your married life is not going to bring you happiness. Your children are not going to bring you happiness. Your education is not going to bring you happiness. Not all the wealth in the world is going to bring you happiness. It will bring you a reasonable amount of comfort, physical comfort in your life, admitted. But if you're looking for peace of mind, you won't find it anywhere else. That is a promise. So thank you for the question. And that's the answer. Or at least the first chapter. There were a lot of things we talked about. Some of them I just brushed on the surface. We can talk about this for years. But at least if you got the overall concept, then that's a great victory on your behalf. Now, before we conclude, I have something to show you. Last week or the week, 1.5 weeks ago. Yes, no, it was actually last week. You came to the monastery and you offered a dakkhineyo almsgiving. So we have prepared a short video clip of that. Before I show this to you though, I want you to ask this question of yourself. Why is Swamin Wahanse showing us memories of the past when it was not I who did it? Why does the monastery make the effort to actually prepare, shoot these things on video, take photographs, stitch it all up into a video? These are not little things. They take a long time. If any of you have done any video production work, I had the good fortune of doing that when Guru Handra was just a Deshakatuma back then, when he was a lay person. So I had the privilege of doing the first sermons that it was just on Windows Movie Maker, when we had Windows XP back then. There was no Premiere or anything like that. Today, technology has advanced a lot. All of those things that helped me to get this far, to come closer to the Dhamma. Because when you give, you get. For those days, he used to visit homes when we were in the UK. So wherever he would go, I would go, like his tail. And we would set up and record it. And he'd bring the recording back. And it was my job to prepare a video out of it. So whatever he would talk about, I'd go on the internet and find suitable images and put the video and the audio together. And those sermons were shared on YouTube. But soon enough, more people started joining us and our army grew. People who started really making sense of the Dhamma and benefiting from the Dhamma. Because that was always a requirement. If ever you are coming to come forward to help and support the Sásana, first you have to be convinced that you have benefited from the Sásana. So then others started helping out, people who had a lot more skills than myself, and they picked it up. And today I think we are quite skilled in that department. Some of those videos are very professional, as you might have noticed yourself. So why do we put the effort into stitching something like that up and bringing and showing it to you? It's because, ladies and gentlemen, merit is your key. It does not have to be you who did it for you to rejoice. Because it was never you who did it anyway. As we have just discussed. Although your mind will keep telling you as you watch these stills, as you watch the video, you'll say, oh, that's me. You won't be able to stop yourself from doing that. As you start watching it, you will be looking for whom? The Buddha. Who will you be looking for? Yes, the most beautiful person in the world. You'll be looking for yourself in that video. But when you do, just ask yourself, is that you? Is that really you? Now that you have understood the truths behind this. And then ask yourself, why does Swami Nuhanse still show it to us after he's given us a whole discourse on this? It's because it doesn't have to be you who did it for you to rejoice in it. The very answer I gave when someone came to me and asked me, why don't the ladies get to hold the umbrellas? When the Swami Nuhanses go on arms round, why don't the ladies get to hold the umbrellas? That's just customary. We're not here to change the rules and the laws of the world. We're simply here to accept. Right? But does it have to be you holding it for you to rejoice in it? No. What is it that holds the umbrella? The chitta or the hand? The hand holds the umbrella. The chitta rejoices. So should that chitta be connected to that hand? No, it doesn't. So that's why I show these videos. So you can rejoice in all of this. Earn plenty of merits, such that those merits help you to progress on this path, to freeing yourself from yourself. You have to remind yourself how fortunate you are to have had the opportunity to offer anything to the Sri Sambuddha Sásana. I feel I am very privileged as I have been able to offer my life. This is no easy, no simple thing, ladies and gentlemen, to come across a Sásana, to come across the Buddha's dispensation, to come across the truth. You know, that alms offering that you would have done, what was it for? Was it just to feed the hungry? What do you think? Was it just to feed the hungry? Or was it for the truth? I want you to think about this. In whatever way you might have contributed to that. Might have been a rupee, might have been simply a thought. Maybe a kind word. Maybe a helping hand. Maybe $1 million. What matters is not the amount. What matters is your intention. The amount only matters in our ability to do things with something. Your intention is what matters on your path to Nibbāna. Does that make sense? If someone offers a rupee, we can't do what 10 rupees can do with 1 rupee. That makes sense, it's obvious. For that you need 9 rupees more. But if the intention is to give to the Sásana so that the truth may live long and prosper, so that those who are followers of the truth may understand and comprehend the truth and become the truth, such that they may be free from suffering and also to help others on that path. Now you have offered to the Sásana. Then it matters not how much it is you have offered. Chetanaham bhikkhave kammang vadami. Your karma is your chetana, which is your intention, not the amount. So for your own salvation, it is the intention that always matters. So whenever you come up here and offer pirikara, at the end of a sermon, whenever you go anywhere else, whatever way in which you might do that, now that you have begun to see in the truth, ladies and gentlemen, offer it in the name of the truth. Offer it for the sake of the truth. Offer it so that the truth can prosper. Long live the truth. That is what you need to resolve. Because the truth is the Sásana and the Sásana is the truth. So it is not an individual. That is what I've always been saying. It is not about feeding a hungry individual. Because that you can do anywhere. You can do that at home. Cook for your family. Now you fed the hungry. Give to a poor person. Now you've fed someone even more hungry. But by feeding a poor person, you don't prosper the truth. They need to be fed as well, I don't deny. But that is one purpose. This is another purpose. That's what I mean. So that is why I wanted you to watch that. To rejoice in that. Whenever you see something good happening in this world, rejoice in it. Does it have to be you who does it? Does it? When you do it, is it you who does it? Well then, when you see someone helping a poor lady or an old lady across the street, rejoice in it. Every day when we leave Gateway College, there's a little Buddha statue just opposite the road, if you might have seen outside the entrance. Right? All of us, we bring our palms together and we chant a sadhukara because someone took the effort to plant that there. Someone made the effort to do that. All I have to do today is just rejoice. But someone went the extra mile. All that hard work, it's not an easy task to find a plot of land on a public street and get permissions and approvals for all that and place a Buddha statue there. It's not an easy task. I didn't have to do any of that. All I had to do is say sadhu. How simple is that? But because someone did that, today I'm able to do that. That's what I mean. When you see any goodness in this world, rejoice. Sadhu is that, to rejoice. There is a much deeper meaning. I talked about it once, but I'll talk about it again in a future date. It has a much deeper meaning. But whenever you have an opportunity to do something for the Sásana, understand that you are doing something for the truth. It is not to a Swamin Wahansa. It is not to a particular temple or a monastery. It's not what it is. You are doing it for the truth. The truth is the Sásana and the Sásana is the truth. It is because the Sásana lives today, you have the privilege and the honor to understand, to listen to the Dhamma. If my teachers hadn't survived, would I be here today? If their teachers hadn't survived, would I be here today to talk to you? Then someone offered robes to my teacher's teacher, right? Someone offered arms to my teacher's teacher. Someone gave them shelter. Someone offered them an umbrella so that they wouldn't get wet in the rain. Because had they got wet in the rain, they would have fallen ill and would not have survived. To go on to create my teacher, who then went on to create me. That's what I mean. This Kalanavata is such a beautiful thing. This noble lineage is such a wonderful thing. Be part of that. Support that. Rejoice in that. In whatever way you can. Remember, it's not the amount. It's your intention. The amount helps the receiver. The intention helps the giver. Isn't it? The size of your offering helps the receiver. The intention of your offering. I have another 2 minutes of video to show you, and this is about the next upcoming tour to Australia. So 2 of our monks will be traveling south again. Well, it's not now south. It's due east now, isn't it, to us? So they'll be going to Australia soon enough, and New Zealand as well. And I have a short video clip I would like you to watch. In there you'll find the itinerary, and the video will also be available on YouTube. So if you have friends, family there, you can send them details of that so that they can go and meet the Swamin Wahanses, join the programs. There will be meditation retreats and so on. So it's a very detailed, thought-out plan, because this is now the 4th or the 5th time that they're traveling. And spread the news so that others who also have merits like you can join and experience the truth. So details of that program will be available on our website, as well as on the link of the YouTube description of this sermon. So please share it with those who you feel might benefit from the tour. Okay, let's wrap it up then. Let's do a merit transfer and bring today's sermon to a close. Let us all take a moment then to transfer the merits that we have all acquired by making offerings to the infinite virtues of the Noble Triple Gem, inviting the Swamin Wahansa to deliver a sermon, as well as creating a conducive environment so that all could come along and practice the path in peace and harmony. Let us take a moment to transfer these merits to the bhikkhus and bhikkhunis, upasakas and upasikas who have since time immemorial protected and preserved the sublime teachings of the Buddha and passed it down to the generations of the noble lineage in the form of the Tripitaka, which is thankfully available to us today to study, understand and comprehend the Dhamma. Let us take a moment to transfer these merits to all the monks and nuns resident in your temples and nunneries who have always been by your side through thick and thin, come rain or shine, as well as the Mahanayakas and the Anunayaka Theras of all of the chapters who represent the Sambhuddha Sásana. Let us also take a moment to transfer this message to my teacher Guru Swami Nuhanse, as well as all the monks resident at the monastery and the Anagarikas and the Anagarikas attached to the monastery. Let us take a moment to transfer these messages to those who make great efforts to disseminate the teachings of the Buddha, be that by transliterating these talks, sharing them out with others, or inviting others to join them. May they all rejoice in these merits. Let us also transfer these merits to friends of the monastery, our devotees, who for the sake of merits to help them attain the supreme bliss of Nibbāna, continue to sustain the Mahasangha. This includes everyone from those of you who provide the Mahasangha with shelter, alms, robes, and medicines, as well as pass on their know-how and continue to extend their well wishes. May they all rejoice in these merits, and by the power of these merits, may they be healed of any physical and mental ailments and overcome any obstacles to their spiritual progress. May they abstain from the unmeritorious deeds, fulfill the meritorious deeds, fulfill the noble eightfold path, and may they all attain the supreme bliss of Nibbāna. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Let us also take a moment to transfer these merits to our mothers and fathers, brothers and sisters, sons and daughters, grandparents, uncles, aunts, cousins, nephews and nieces, our friends, our acquaintances, our employers and our employees and our teachers, those who have gone the extra mile on our behalf, who have left no stone unturned to help us, support us, and assist us in any way, shape, or form possible and available to them. May they all rejoice in these merits, and by the power of these merits, may they also be healed of any physical and mental ailments and overcome any obstacles to their spiritual progress. May they abstain from the unmeritorious deeds, fulfill the meritorious deeds, fulfill the noble eightfold path, and may they all attain the supreme bliss of Nibbāna. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Let us also take a moment to transfer these merits to the Devas and Brahmas, spirits and demons, primarily the Sakadeva, as well as all the numerous gods and deities who have committed themselves to fulfill and preserve the Sambhuddha Sásana. Let us transfer these merits to our guardian deities who keep a watchful eye over us and keep us out of harm's way. May they prosper in divine power and wisdom. May they abstain from the unmeritorious deeds, fulfill the meritorious deeds, fulfill the noble eightfold path, and may they all attain the supreme bliss of Nibbāna. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Let us also take a moment to transfer these merits to those who passed away in our names, our forefathers, our ancestors, our loved ones, reminding ourselves that it is in their blood, sweat and tears today we are able to enjoy the comforts of life and practice the path in peace and harmony. Let us transfer these merits to those who have sacrificed their lives to protect the peace and harmony of our nation, members of the armed forces as well as the police force. Let us transfer these merits to those who lost their lives in wars, be they friend or foe, as well as those who lost their lives in natural disasters such as the tsunamis, earthquakes, landslides, fires, forest fires, pandemics and so on, reminding ourselves that in this infinitely long journey of samsara, they will all have been mothers and fathers to us, friends to us, supporters, as well as those who have gone the extra mile on our behalf, and with an abundance of loving kindness and compassion towards them, let us transfer all the merits we have acquired to them. May, by the power of these merits, if any of them have been born in the woeful plains, they redeem themselves to be born in the blissful plane. May they abstain from the unmeritorious deeds, fulfill the meritorious deeds, fulfill the noble eightfold path, and may they all attain the supreme bliss of Nibbāna. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. And finally, may by the power and blessings of all the merits we have acquired throughout the day, we be able to witness the advent of many hundreds of thousands of arahants on this blessed land. And may you and I, and everyone who's helped make this program a success, become a rahatan vahanse or an arahat teranin vahanse in this lifetime itself and in the era of the Sambhuddha Sásana itself. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. May the blessings of the Noble Triple Gem be with you all. The members of the Mahasangha will now transfer their blessings to you. Rāga ginnen nidatva, dvesha ginnen nidatva, moha ginnen nidatva, Nibbāna parama sukhayan Sukhita taravetva, Nibbāna parama sukhayan, Sukhita taravetva. Mamada siyalu loka, siyalu satnvayo, Nibbāna parama sukhayan, Sukhita taravetva, Nibbāna parama sukhayan, Sukhita taravetva, Nibbāna parama sukhayan, Sukhita taravetva. Raga gini niveva, විෂගිනි නිවේවා මෝහගිනි නිවේවා නිවන් සැප ලැබේවා නිවන් සැප ලැබේවා නිවන් සැප ලැබේවා තුන්වන්ගේ සුවිසි අනන්ත මහා ගුණ බලෙන් සියලු ලෝක සියලු සත්වයෝම නිබ්බාන පරම සුඛයෙන් සුඛිතතර වෙත්වා සාදු සාදු සාදු